Good morning. My name is Ashley. I'm going to be doing your walkthrough for the 2021 Coachmen Pursuit. She is 12.5 feet tall, so anything on the highway, you're good. Anything off the highway, so like parking garages, drive-throughs, anything with a roof or overhang, you just want to be cautious of and make sure you at least have the 13-foot clearance. Also, lengthwise, you're not as long, but you're still pretty long, so just more wider turns than usual. Starting on the driver's side, you have a lot of smaller storage compartments. Your second storage bay on the driver's side is where your propane is used to power your fridge when you're not plugged in. It's also used to power your heat if you're using heat inside the RV. Also, it powers your stove when you're cooking. You're able to check the levels for this inside, but just in case you have to get the propane refilled, you would just find a place that fills propane on RVs. It's not a replacement, and you would have to guide whoever's filling the tank to where it's located on the RV, which is the second storage area on the driver's side. Your third storage area on the driver's side as well is your generator. You can start and stop the generator on the inside, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. The only thing you would need to know on the outside is if you accidentally trip your generator. Sometimes that happens if you're running the generator and you have the AC and microwave on at the same time. Sometimes that's just too much power for the generator, so it will trip, which is not a big deal. You would just have to pull over and go outside to the third storage bay on the driver's side and pop this green cap open, and I'm going to show you the fuse to look for. So now that I have the cap popped off, it's this fuse right here. So if that's flipped back, that means that it has tripped the generator. So you just need to reach in and pull it forward, and now it's good to go. So on the driver's side, we have empty storage, propane, generator. Here we have your waste tanks, and in the very back you have a large storage bay. We usually try and keep all your hoses and electrical hookups to one side. So your electricity hookup, your 30 amp plug, is actually connected to the RV itself. So you literally just pull this out and plug this into a 30 amp connection. In this bag, usually with your water hose, you will see a black cable cord. This is if the campsite offers you cable hookup, you have the ability to hook up to their cable. And then you also have a 110 adapter. The 110 adapter, if you want to use this, so if you're like parking at someone's house or you just don't have the 30 amp plug-in available, you would plug this part into the end of the 30 amp and convert it into a 110 plug. Just a warning about the 110 plug, you will not be able to run the AC if you're using the 110 adapter. It's just not strong enough to run the AC. It will run everything else like your TV, your microwave, lights, stuff like that, but it will not run your AC. It's just not powerful enough. But if you're plugged in with just your straight 30 amp, everything will run normally. Also on the driver's side, you are going to see your water hookups. So you have your fresh water, which is your storage water. You can check the levels to see how low you're getting on your storage water. So fresh water, or I like to think of it as a storage water, it's inside the RV with you at all times. When you're using your fresh water, you want to have your water pump on inside, and I'm going to show you how to turn that on when we go inside. Your city water is for when you're connecting to the campsite water or whatever water source you're connecting to. You would be feeding it directly to the RV. Anytime you're using the city water, you want the water pump off because the hose gives you enough pressure to where you wouldn't need the water pump on. So to use the city water, we're at the campsite. One end looks like a regular garden hose and the other part is a colored attachment. So the colored attachment goes to your campsite or wherever you're getting your water from. And then the regular part just puts in the RV here. You screw it in. Your water pump is off inside. And now you have direct hookup to your water. I always suggest to customers to top off their fresh water before they leave the campsite. So how you would do that is just simply unscrew it from the city water, screw it into the fresh water, and fill it. You'll know it's full from the outside because the water actually squirts back out at you. So we covered our fresh water, our storage water, our city water. Right below here, you're gonna find your cable hookup in case the campsite or wherever you're going offers cable hookup. Your inlet is right there. The sewer tank flush, you'll never use this. This is for maintenance purposes only. And again, we're still on the driver's side of the RV. The door located right next to your big storage door, that is where your waste tanks are located. However, there is an emergency release valve on the passenger side of the RV that you will always have to pull before you start dumping on the other side. And that release valve is right here. So on the passenger side, it's this little door right next to your big storage area. You would come here and pull this out. And so now you have the silver showing. So to close, it's push in. To open, it's pull out. And that's the same on the other side too. So now that we have that pulled out, we would come to the other side, the driver's side. And we would take our waste hose. This part hooks into the RV here. And you just lock that in. You're always gonna pull your black first. Your black is your toilet water, so your toilet waste. So when you pull that, you want the heavy stuff out first. The gray is your sink and shower water. So as you're using your sink or your shower and it goes down the drain, it stores into a gray like storage thing. And once that gets to a certain level, you have to dump it. And I'm gonna show you inside how we know when it's time to dump. Same for your black. Your black, when every time you flush the toilet, that waste goes into a storage area. And once that gets to a certain level, you have to dump it. So we're gonna pull our black out first. So see, it's just straight pull out, and then we'll pull our gray. Now, if you're at a campsite and you're staying overnight, you can just leave it like this. You can leave the black open and the gray open, plugged in. That way, as you're using it, it's dumping out. If your campsite doesn't offer that service and it's a place where you have to drive to and dump, when you're done dumping, you'll know it's done because it's a clear cap right here. And once it's done dumping, you're gonna do the opposite. You'll close your gray first, and then you'll close your black. And then you'll take this off, pop the cap on. And you'll come around to your emergency release. And you'll close that last. Okay, now coming around to the passenger side, you have the same access on the passenger side to that big storage area. Again, that's where your emergency release for the waste tanks are. You have your awning. Your awning comes out about 8 feet, so you just want to make sure you have the clearance for it. Also, if it's windy or rainy, you don't want to leave the awning open, and you don't want to leave the awning open overnight. They surprisingly tear really easily, so if there's any kind of rain or wind, you just want to close it, and also don't leave it open overnight. Right by the entrance door here, you have some 110 outlets. You also have another coaxial cable hookup right there. In this storage area, you will find your bunk bed ladder for the overhead bunk is right there. And then coming in to the entrance, you have your screen door. And then you also have a power step right there. As you can see, it opens and closes with the door. So the button for your power step is right here. So if the power step is left open and you can't figure out why it's not opening and closing with the door, just make sure this switch is not pushed down, because if it's pushed down, then it just stays like that. So you just want to make sure it's up so it opens and closes with the door. Right here is your house battery. As you can see, it's turned to on. This should be in no other position except for on. If you're not getting power inside, the first place to check is right here and make sure somebody didn't bump it into another position besides on. The second thing to check would be if you're plugged into a campsite, to go and check the campsite's power and make sure that their breakers aren't flipped. And then if you're on generator power, you would need to go and make sure that the generator is not tripped. You have your entry lights, and then you have your front lights right there. So coming into the RV, right above your entrance door, you have a cabinet right here. Opening up this cabinet, there's a button inside. This is to open and close your awning. So if I hold down on out, it brings my awning out. Now obviously you want to spot check and make sure that you have enough clearance to open the awning. And you can kind of watch it through the window there and out the top of the door here. It's not windy today, so I'm gonna fully extend it. And there's your awning. And then to close it, you just press up, which is in, to bring it back in. You also have your HDMI cables and a 110 outlet, and this is your GFI outlet as well.